of so far, so good. This one is definitely going to make your weekend. Jaggu, that yellow looks fantastic on you. I think marigold yellow is or chrome yellow is your color.
So is it chrome yellow or is it mustard?
No, it's chrome.
It's chrome yellow? Yeah, chrome yellow is a good color. I know. I quite like it. Can I also tell you I'm wearing something new. I have a brand new pair of boxers on.
Excellent.
And I wouldn't have brought it up. You know me. Normally I don't like to discuss my boxers.
Yeah, we believe you. We don't need any proof.
But I'm trying a whole new brand.
Oh.
Bangalore is an eye-opener, I tell you. Before, for the longest time, for like 10, 15 years, I was using just one brand. I have switched.
Oh, have you?
And I'm cutting edge. I bought a set of 3. I didn't even say I'll buy one. I bought 3. And they're all fitting me very well, which is a good idea because they're all the same size. Different colors also.
Very nice. Very nice.
I have a grey, I have a light blue, I have a dark blue. It's very cool.
Shall we guess the color of your boxers today? I think you want light blue today.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't lie. Really?
I promise you.
Okay.
So the other 2 I've already worn. This was the 3rd new one to wear.
I appreciate your restraint in not giving me day-by-day update of today this boxer, now that boxer. Dear viewer, typically, yes, Jaggu tends to overshare very gross details of his life with me because he can and because he likes to annoy me. And the game is he tries to annoy me and I pretend that I'm not annoyed and it's not bothering me. This game has been going on for 18 years and maybe you should stop.
But no, are you mad? Sometimes it's my only entertainment in the day.
Speaking of entertainment, remember this is your space for entertainment, also for information, also for random fun news to distract you from like the really hardcore news that has been, sort of overwhelming our social media feeds. So yes, we will not talk about very, very serious issues, but it's still very, very interesting, such as while you're stuck at home, Jaggu, some people in different parts of the world are being quite adventurous with their food.
In the house?
No. Okay. So did you read, so now serious news, did you read that Congo, the African nation, had a volcano eruption?
Yeah. After some many years it had erupted, so, they weren't expecting it.
Correct. And now, and then it's still like very dangerous where people are taking selfies. So now that's serious, but that's not what we want to go into. We want to tell you about Guatemala, and Guatemala has a volcano which has erupted. So it's called the Pacaya volcano. And basically it has erupted after many years. And in February, it started erupting and it is continuing to erupt. Little, hallu. Yeah, it's just going on. Yeah, okay. And so molten lava continues to ooze out of Guatemala's Pacaya volcano. And then I guess it's at a level where you can like look at it and you can be like fascinated, but it's not really hurting anybody. But now more and more people are going to this volcano and they're going there, Jaggu, to eat the world's most unique pizza. Oven-fired pizza.
Yeah. I see where you're going with this.
We give you volcano fire pizza.
Yeah, baby.
And the
chef is the way to go.
And the chef is, I don't think he's a regular chef because he's a 34-year-old accountant. That's how he's been described in all the stories I've been reading. A 34-year-old accountant decided to make the pizza. And everyone's like, it's amazing. And it's got a really like nice volcano like flavor to it. I do have a video.
What is a volcano flavor?
Come, he will explain to us what the volcano flavor pizza is. Please watch. It is all in Spanish. But there are subtitles. So let's see. Okay. Okay. Pacaya volcano, Guatemala. The person speaking is basically a consumer of the pizza. He's excited. That looks pretty good.
It does look good.
Yeah. That, however, looks scary.
I'm assuming he has a really long contraption to pull it out of there.
I am hoping. No, look at him. He's gone there.
Whoa.
And gone and moved it. So that is the accountant slash chef.
Wow, he's building it from scratch, huh?
He put it in a hot cave. I don't know where the hot cave is, but I guess anywhere over there would be. Volcanic pizza chef. Can you imagine? You can put that on your resume.
Correct.
So his
I
oven
wonder how much he
mitts,
charges for this.
the oven mitts and all are like quite cool. In the lava river, I have to make sure the pizza doesn't drift away. What a problem to have.
But so cool. All of this without any electricity.
Even oven fire, I mean, whatever that.
It's like a green pizza.
Yeah, but
It's
that
environmentally friendly.
Tengo que estar viendo el viento a qué
oh,
dirección está.
we have to bother about the wind so that it doesn't affect him. How wonderful is that?
But listen, Garcia means either Spain or some place that's
Guatemala. Guatemala.
Oh, he is local.
Yes.
Ah, okay. I thought he would be Desi.
Why?
Because Pakaya, na? Pakaya, I cooked. He understood the word. He went to cook. Pakane ke liye gaya volcano.
Shut up, Jaggu. Stop
No,
it.
I thought it made perfect sense.
No.
Achha, so listen, this is what is happening on one side of the world.
Yes, Central America,
On the
by the
other
way, in case you're wondering where Guatemala is.
On the other side of the world, we're dealing with melons.
Okay.
Very expensive melons.
Kharbuza.
Kharbuza. So in Hokkaido, it's an island in Japan.
Yeah.
They grow melons. It's literally the local fruit. They're very proud of it. It comes out looking very nice. It tastes very sweet and all of that. They're called yubari melons.
Yubari melons.
We know they do this with fish. Like the season starts with an auction. But turns out they also do it with melons.
So the blue tuna auction.
That's right.
Okay. Where
auction.
Tuna fish is like damn expensive.
So they also now do it with melons. As it turns out, the melons from Hokkaido, these Yubari melons, they are also expensive.
Why?
So a pair of melons, I don't know. They're melons. They're very sweet. They're this, they're that. So this pair of Yubari melons went for 2.7 million yen. We're talking close to 25,000 US dollars. We're talking 18 lakh rupees.
For two melons?
I didn't say 1 kilo, 1 dozen, 1 crate, 1 truck. No, I said a pair of melons. Went for that much money.
But do they taste like any different from regular like kharbuza? Must be, no? It must be nice.
Who knows? Who knows? My melons come from the local market. And I don't pay anywhere close to this amount. So wait. So this is an annual gig, okay? This is not the first time this has happened.
Wait, I think I might have an image.
This is a full-blown record of 2.7 million yen K melons, and this is what it looks like. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Let me give you that image.
So these are this year's melons.
You know, Jaggu, I'm already looking at it, and it is like it's not like impressing.
Nothing to write home about, right?
Yeah, they're not like giant or anything.
No. Well, they're supposed to taste very good. They're supposed to be spectacular melons.
No, I can understand the Japanese being very like, like they like best quality of everything.
Arey, but had hoti hai yaar.
But I don't know if like, is it because it's rare and very few things grow there? I don't know.
No, Hokkaido melons grow in Hokkaido like there's no tomorrow. It's a seasonal event. Every year you will get these melons. And it's not like they grow 5 or 25. They grow a lot of bloody melons. Here's the thing. Last year, because of the whole coronavirus thing, when they had the auction, I guess it was online, who knows, they went for only 120,000 yen.
Okay.
Which is an incredibly low figure because the year before that, in 2019, they went for 5 million yen. So 5 million yen, 120,000 yen, straight 22 million yen. I'm guessing all the people who didn't take part in the action last year took last year's budget and this year's budget and potentially next year's budget. Dabake.
Yeah. But I have a question. Yes. Considering like how in India, or maybe even Pakistan, basically in South Asia, you can go to the fruit wala and say, is it good? Is it ripe? And they like with watermelon, at least they cut one little corner and show it to you. And then you're like, yeah, okay, it works. And then you take it. I don't think like the Japanese have a process of like cutting holes in their melons to prove. No, but I mean, like, so then on what? Like on a like hope you would spend that kind of money?
Yeah. So here's what's happening. These melons that are getting auctioned. Now tell me, the regular melons, they go for a couple, which is still expensive by any standard. They go for a few thousand yen. Okay. The regular Yubari melons.
Okay.
In the market, generally go that, but somehow this auction is a big deal. Somehow they manage to pick out special melons and things like that. So all of this, the melons are being donated to families with small children that were already picked out in an online draw.
So somebody spent a fortune on these 2 melons and then donated it to a family which
Yeah.
had small kids.
A baby food company,
Huh.
a baby food company won the bid this year, and all the ones that are being auctioned, not just these 2, are all going to families with small kids because they're sweet melons, they're lovely melons, the kids much enjoy this, that, the other. Melons are okay. Who's getting the money?
The farmer.
Give the money also now.
The money is going to the farmer.
Why is the farmer sitting on 22 million, 20, whatever, that many million yen?
Maybe the farmers also like donating.
2.7 million yen he's sitting on. It didn't cost him that much to grow the melon.
For sure.
हाँ, तो वो भी थोड़ा दियो ना to children.
Maybe he is. Maybe they are. But,
Yeah, maybe they are. Who knows?
but what a waste. I mean, like if like these melons are supposed to be the sweetest melons in the whole wide world, to waste it on a baby who can't even like appreciate taste because they just like everything sweet. What a waste.
No, small children.
Yeah, but small children,
not
please.
necessarily big.
Small children do not have like, very developed palates.
Refined taste buds.
Exactly.
Correct.
So what, at least give it to like a connoisseur.
Tarana, neither do you or I.
Yeah, but I mean, there are like connoisseurs in the world who would appreciate the taste of melon. Anywho.
I'm yet to meet a melon connoisseur, but I agree with you.
Can I please tell you, I will give you a slight little personal story. There is a Shamak Davar. Shamak Davar is not
You
a melon
danced with Shamak Davar. You were part
I
of his
did.
troupe and all.
I used to work with the Shamak, and his best friend was a chef. His name was Zarir Harlalka. He probably still is best friend. And we had all gone to Egypt together, and the Egyptian melons are also supposed to be outstanding. Like the melons in the Nile Valley are supposed to be outstanding. And Zarir, who is little bit melon shaped himself, is a very, very interesting gentleman to speak with. Little bit drove us all mad that entire time in Egypt because he's like, I have to have the luscious melons of the Nile. I have to have Egyptian melons. They're luscious, they're lovely, and they wonder. I was like, we've never heard anybody discuss melons. He would be quite at home in Japan at this auction.
There you go. I'm thinking the time has come for why aren't we doing mango auctions?
There are probably mango auctions, but they probably don't like.
They're not selling for half a crore of rupees. I want a dozen mangoes at half a crore rupees.
So half a crore rupees, mangoes could possibly be sold somewhere in the far, far corner of the world, where a desi person has been left in isolation for many years.
Yeah.
That is the only time that much money would be spent on mangoes.
Correct.
Because we don't really appreciate, as they say, we don't really spend too much money on fruit. You're like, okay, whatever it is, I'll spend, but not like lunatic amounts. It's okay. I'd rather have another variety. Anyway, while we're on money, during COVID, a lot of us have lost our jobs. We would think that maybe if only I could win a lottery and it would change my life. And then there are the people who have won lotteries and not cared.
Because they had that much money.
No, very, very careless behavior in my opinion. We're also being careless by forgetting to tell you to like this video and add your comments. Please tell us about the favorite fruit that you would spend a fortune on. Like, oh my God, if I got like this best fruit, I would love to spend this money on it. Tell us about your favorite.
How much would you spend on mango maximum?
We're just giving you ideas as to what comment to put in. You can also put a smile or a melon emoji. But remember to like, subscribe, comment. Okay, back to lottery winners who don't seem to care. So I've come across like 2 stories, both in America. One winner, she bought a lottery ticket, put it in her jeans pocket, put the jeans for a wash, and then it got destroyed.
Oh.
She did win.
How did she get the money?
So she
won.
No, so that ticket won $26 million.
No.
Which is a lot of money in whatever currency.
So one minute. If the ticket has been destroyed, how do we know that is her ticket?
So so she had proof. She had basically looked at it or something and remembered the numbers. Destroyed the ticket in her jeans pocket. And if you do win a lottery, you have to prove that you. Firstly, by showing the ticket, but if you don't have the ticket for whatever reason, you have to prove that you bought it. So now the shop that she bought it from was her regular store, and the CCTV footage of that has been sent as proof. But I mean, CCTV footage is not particularly
it's not
clear.
Going to pick up it's not going to pick up the lottery number.
Unless she bought it and said, "Ye dekho" and all, which I doubt she did. But anyway, so if she doesn't collect the money, then it's going to go to charity. So.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
But I feel a little bad for her, but at least it's going towards a good
but if you buy a lottery ticket and all, then come on now. Like, why would you like leave it in your jeans?
This is true.
Yeah.
Put
You're
it
not
in
like
the
buying it on a whim. Like respect the lottery. If you don't respect the lottery, you will not win.
Correct.
Having said that, maybe disrespecting the lottery is what
Correct.
makes
I
people
agree.
win, because she won disrespecting the lottery.
Correct.
Okay.
You're confusing me.
You're somewhere there. Stay with me, Jagu. Okay. So the other person, okay, the other lady who won, she bought it, $30 she spent on her ticket, bought a ticket, scratched it like carelessly, saw the numbers and said, yeah, no, this is not winning or whatever it is, and gave it back to the shopkeeper and said, just like throw it in the dustbin for me.
Wow.
That ticket won $1 million.
Which the shopkeeper kept, or what happened?
The shop owners
I suspect that didn't happen.
No, the shop owners are Gujaratis, Shahs, who live in the States. And they said, we didn't even realize, like it was just on top of a pile of paper for a very long time. That was cleared. And then my son, Abhi Shah, saw it in the trash and said, what is this lottery ticket? Realized that it hadn't been scratched out fully. Proceeded to scratch it and realized, oh my God, these are the winning numbers.
Whoa.
So he's like, so then I'm a millionaire, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to get myself a Tesla. Then he called his grandparents and parents and all of them said, no, pap it is. And you must give it to the person who bought it, because that is the right thing to do. So then they called her.
She was,
yeah, but he said, I was very tempted. I'm not going to lie. I was very tempted. For 2 days, I thought about it, but then everybody in my family said, no, you must give it up. So then he did. He called that lady back and said, congratulations, you won $1 million.
1 minute.
Yes.
And we have this on record.
Yes.
She took the ticket that she bought, scratched out the number, didn't like the number, and gave it back. So now it is Abhi's property.
Yes.
It is a gift. Technically, he's not wrong.
Yeah.
But he gave it away anyway.
He gave it away and he said, and people are so impressed with my generosity. And everyone's like, we are not surprised that this family would do this because they're very sweet and they have been our kirana walas for very, very long. So he said, I'm getting more love and affection this way, which I never got if I'd kept the $1 million.
Is that love and affection worth $1 million?
I think that's what he's telling himself. So it makes me think.
Did that auntie give him his Tesla or not? Utna to karti yaar.
I hope she does after learning that he really wanted to buy a Tesla. But I guess $1 million is more than enough to buy a Tesla for him and keep a lot for yourself, right?
Oh, yeah. Like $950,000 she can keep for herself.
Okay, so then hopefully she gets him a Tesla. But I think people don't take lotteries too seriously, or they're careless with their tickets and all, because the sums of money involved are so preposterous, and you're like, it's a 1 in a million chance, and you don't really care about it, which is why
you can't compute.
Yeah, which is why lotteries for smaller prizes like cows seem to be doing well.
Best.
Yeah. So in Thailand, there is one little region where the local authorities have created a lottery/raffle system for people who get themselves vaccinated. You get vaccinated, you go into a raffle draw, and you will win a cow. And ever since they've declared this, everybody has been very excited about basically getting themselves vaccinated.
Fair enough. So 1 minute. So now everybody's going getting vaccinated because they're going to win a cow.
Potentially win a cow, but then even the potential chance of winning something like a cow is still sort of imaginable.
It is imaginable.
Yeah, and I think they give one away every few days or something like that. So there are many cows, So then you're like, wow, which is why $26 million or even $1 million, you're like, okay, I can be careless with my ticket.
It could happen. It could happen. So,
dear viewer, if you have bought a lottery ticket, please go look for it and keep on hang on to it. Because you never know.
Correct. So listen, in our entire ethos, there is the cows and all. Along with the cows, there is also yoga.
Yes.
So let me take you straight to yoga, but not yoga as done in India.
So we're not doing cow yoga. Koga.
No, we're not doing cow yoga.
Okay.
No, we're not doing koga. I know there is yoga and goat yoga and all of that.
There is goga, which is goat yoga, correct?
Yeah, no, we're not going there.
Okay.
We're going to Alabama. That state in the US.
Alabama.
Yes.
Alabama. Something like that.
One.
Yeah.
which after 28 years has lifted their ban on yoga being taught in schools.
There was a ban on yoga being taught in schools in Alabama.
I only know that now.
Okay, because
There was a ban. So
because the
what
ban has been
started the
lifted.
ban? What started the ban? We don't know.
Okay.
But what ended the ban was a state representative in whatever the state legislature or whatever, who was a yoga enthusiast, and he said, "What is this ban? Why can't school kids learn about it?"
Yeah.
So he then took a bill into the state legislature. The governor signed off on it and all of that. So now yoga can be taught in schools.
Okay.
But you need to be, and I want to read this out carefully. All instruction in yoga, this is the law. All instruction in yoga shall be limited exclusively to poses, exercises, and stretching techniques. However, chanting mantras, mudras, use of mandalas, induction of hypnotic states, guided imagery, and namaste greetings shall be expressly prohibited.
Guided hypnotic states?
Yeah, I'm yet to do a yoga course or hear of a yoga course that does that.
That goes into
So I'm
hypnosis,
thinking,
yeah.
Yeah, so it seems when this bill was placed in the legislature, there was a debate and things like that, and there were still arguments about it. Nobody said, this is a minor detail, go for it. It's going to stop yoga. People debated it, including one person that said in the legislature, or some spokesperson, said that if you do guided imagery, then you will have these instructors coming in using guided imagery and creating some sort of a Hinduism spiritual environment and things. I mean, what is guided imagery?
I guess,
why haven't I learned about guided imagery?
I mean, those are the asanas, right? But I guess if you have a yoga teacher, then the yoga teacher will demonstrate instead of saying, look at this photo.
No, guided. No, that's not what. So guided imagery is a mind-body intervention by which a trained practitioner or teacher helps a participant or patient to evoke and generate mental images that simulate or recreate sensory perception, sight, sounds, taste, smell, movements, images associated with touch, such as texture, temperature, and pressure. Hello.
Guided also when they plant the image in your head.
Yeah, not look at this chart and do this pose. Acha, there is another story over there. You cannot use the Sanskritized name of the asana.
Okay, so it has to be
English.
So it has to be downward
facing dog. Is downward facing dog. It's not Adhimukha Shavasana.
I can understand why kids are not going to be able to pick up on Sanskrit names.
The warrior is the warrior.
Okay.
You can't say Veer Bhadrasana.
Understandable.
Fair enough. I mean,
firstly, these are like Americans and American children, that too in Alabama.
Correct. Yeah, Veer Bhadrasana might be a bit of a mouthful.
No, they are not. Yeah, they are not like the California types. Alabama is very, very different from California.
It is very true. It is very true. But now kids can learn about yoga.
Very good.
Very interesting.
After 28 years, the children of Alabama are going to do very, very well. But
they can't do namaste.
They can't do namaste.
And they can't do guided imagery.
And they can't do guided imagery. Okay.
And they cannot be induced into a hypnotic state or whatever it is that law said. I want to attend the yoga class where they do this.
Hey, it might be fun. It might get you to do the yoga then in the first place, Jaku.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. We're going to leave you. We don't have an animal story today, but we do have some really cool images because the supermoon was just sighted in certain parts of the world. It was a supermoon. It was the red blood moon. It was whatever. And everyone's like, wow. A lot of us, we spoke about the Qantas flight that was flying people to the moon and they would have had a wonderful time. And everyone was very excited about it in our previous episode.
40,000 feet in the air.
Yeah. People were very excited. And they were like, oh, I would love to be on this flight. So yes, we're very excited by moons. But there's a kid in India, Prathamesh Jaju. He's 16 years old. He is from Pune. And he has gone viral because he has managed to take one of the most detailed photos of the moon. Okay. And it involved a lot of effort. First, he started at 1 a.m, went on for 4 hours, and he took over 50,000 photos.
On his phone?
On his phone, telescope, I don't know what he...
I would assume camera.
Yeah.
Like very high-end camera.
So he said, I captured for 4 hours and I took 50,000 photos because I wanted to get the clearest images and stitch them together. You can sort of like stitching. Yeah, that's the phrase. You stitch together images to get like one great image.
Very clear,
and
a
then you
much
can
clearer image. Yeah.
Yes, and you can sharpen the image, and he learned how to do this on YouTube. He is also, he is wanting to be in the future. He wants to be an astronomer and a scientist and all of that. So he's very excited. And he said, it nearly crashed my computer because it took 38 to 40 hours for processing. And the file was almost 186 GB.
Oh, that's a big file.
Yes. And then finally he managed to, like, after it came down to 600 MB. But let me quickly, sorry, I have currently a photo of the melons, which I do not want to show you, but.
Melon, moon, same thing, same
Yes, here we go.
general shape. Wow.
But this is it. So
this
really,
is the photo that Prathamesh Jaju took.
yeah,
Oh, that's pretty damn clear.
right?
Oh.
That's like really amazing. Okay, that's the other side of the moon. It's not white, it's like blue, and it looks like a planet.
Khaki.
Yeah, it looks like a planet. Okay, this is the top.
Oh.
Yeah,
At
these
any
are
point, you
great
take a full
photographs.
picture or not?
Another angle, and here we go. A full photo.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Very
And
impressive. Good job.
he
And
did a
so
really
much
good
effort
job.
into getting this just right.
Yeah, so Prathamesh, you did a damn good job. Plus, you saved a lot of people a lot of money because otherwise we would have had to get on a plane, get to Australia, get onto that special Qantas plane to fly close to the moon, and still not seen it like this.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah, that's a great image.
Fabulous job.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Today when you look up at the sky and you see the moon, please to be remembering the effort that Prathamesh Jaju has put into this.
16 years old, and he took these. It looks stunning. I've never seen the moon. These are the clearest images of the moon apparently ever taken, which is why he's made it to the news. All right. We're going to love you and leave you and tell you we love you to the moon and back. And if you love us right back, please remember to like this video. Please remember to add your comments, whatever. Do Vishesh Tippani. This is a discussion. We always reply. So please do it. And also subscribe and turn that bell icon on.
And please share with like-minded people, yeah.
People who like moons.
Okay, now we should go.
Yoga. All right, we're out of here. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Keep that mask on. Try and keep your sanity intact. We are struggling also, but you help us. So hopefully we help you. Okay, we'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye, butterfly.